The sun hung low on the horizon, casting a warm orange glow over the endless savanna. The wind whispered through the tall grass, bending it in waves, but something more ominous stirred in the air. A cloud of insects descended thick and suffocating, covering the land like a moving fog. The tribe, primitive yet resilient, was preparing for a journey through this swarm. They had no choice. In the distance, the unmistakable sound of buzzing grew louder, overwhelming the senses. It was a plague, a swarm of biting insects, relentless and unforgiving. The tribe knew this was a battle for survival, where every step could be their last. The men, women, and children hurriedly gathered their belongings, covering their bodies in thick layers of mud and leaves to shield themselves from the bites. The smell of the earth mingled with the acrid scent of the insects as they took their first steps into the savanna, a cloud of buzzing and stinging filling the air around them. One of the elders, a weathered Homo habilis, held up a stone tool signaling for the group to move. The tribe walked in silence, every person aware of the constant threat around them. The sound of feet shuffling across the dirt was muffled by the swarm, which buzzed, stung, and clouded their vision. Suddenly, a child let out a scream, her hand swiping at a cloud of insects that had descended upon her face. The mother quickly rushed forward, grabbing the child and shielding her with her body. The father, a towering figure, his face grim with determination, drew a spear and began swiping at the air, trying to ward off the insects with fierce, sweeping gestures. But then another sound cut through the buzzing, a low growl far too close for comfort. A predator, its eyes glowing with hunger, emerged from the tall grass. A saber-toothed cat, its fur matted with the remnants of past kills, moved silently toward the tribe. The swarm of insects seemed to be a blessing and a curse. It distracted the predator, but it also made the tribe vulnerable. The cat, using the cover of the insects, crept closer. Its teeth were bared and its muscles coiled in preparation for an attack. The leader of the tribe, a powerful Homo erectus, raised his arm, signaling for the group to halt. There was no time to run. They would have to fight. As the cat lunged, the tribe responded. Spears were thrown, stone axes raised, and with a primal roar, the battle for survival began. The mother held her child tight, her face set with a mixture of fear and determination. She could hear the sounds of the struggle, the thud of the predator's body hitting the ground, the clash of stone against bone, the cries of both the tribe and the beast. The insects buzzed around them, unrelenting, adding a layer of chaos to the already fierce battle. But as the fight wore on, a flicker of hope emerged. The tribe's unity and their knowledge of survival carried them through. The predator was forced to retreat, and the tribe stood victorious, though exhausted and battered. With the battle won, the tribe slowly moved away from the site, the insects still swarming around them, their relentless presence a reminder that the struggle was far from over. They found shelter beneath the cover of a nearby cave, and as the night fell, they gathered around a fire, the warmth offering a brief respite. The tribe's journey was far from over. The insects would follow them, and the threat of predators would never fade. But for now, they had survived. They had found strength in unity, in survival, and in each other. The next challenge would be waiting, but they were ready. As the days passed, the tribe continued their journey through the relentless swarms of insects. They had learned to adapt their bodies, now coated in layers of mud and crushed herbs that offered a semblance of protection. But the insects were everywhere, clouds of them rising from the earth, buzzing in the air, biting at exposed skin. The constant hum was deafening, a never-ending reminder of the harsh world they inhabited. Their path led them toward a river, the promise of fresh water and respite from the heat. But even here, the insects were not far behind. The tribe waded into the cool water, trying to find solace in its relief. The children splashed playfully, their laughter rising above the buzz of the insects, but their faces were tight with the exhaustion of living in this constant storm. Suddenly, the leader raised a hand, signaling for the tribe to stop. His sharp eyes scanned the surroundings, sensing something in the air. The swarm was becoming denser, and it was clear that something was amiss. Then, from the shadows of the trees, movement stirred. A rival tribe had appeared, their bodies cloaked in the same mud-covered armor, their eyes cold with intent. The air grew thick with tension, a standoff between the two groups. The rival tribe had seen the tribe struggle, and they intended to take advantage of it. They circled, moving in like wolves, knowing that in a weakened state, the tribe would be easy prey. The leader of the tribe motioned for the others to form a defensive line, his face set with a steely resolve. The men raised their spears, the women standing behind them, clutching crude stone tools for defense. The rival tribe made no move to speak. It was a fight for survival, and the insects buzzed around them like a living, choking fog, adding to the primal urgency of the moment. The standoff escalated quickly. A spear was thrown, and the battle ignited with the speed of lightning. The insects seemed to feed on the chaos, their buzzing louder as they swarmed around the combatants. The clash of stone against stone and the roar of warriors filled the air, and amidst the violence, the children huddled together, clutching each other in fear. In the midst of the chaos, one of the rival warriors lunged at the leader, his eyes wild with desperation. The leader fought back using his spear, with the skill that only years of survival could teach. A swift movement, and the rival warrior fell to the ground, his life extinguished in an instant. But the battle was far from over. With one last push, the tribe overwhelmed the rival group. They fought not only for their survival, but for the right to live in this harsh world. Exhausted but resolute, the tribe stood victorious once more. The rival tribe, broken and defeated, retreated into the wilds, leaving the land to those who had claimed it. As the dust settled, the tribe gathered once more, their breathing heavy, their bodies bruised but unbroken. The insects continued to swarm around them, their presence ever persistent. But for now, the tribe had triumphed. They had faced both nature and the brutality of other humans, and they had survived. The leader looked toward the horizon, the sun dipping low behind the hills. There was no time to rest. The journey would continue. But for now, there was a moment of peace, a shared understanding between the survivors. As the fire crackled that night, the tribe sat in silence, their weary bodies gathered around its warmth. The insects continued to swarm above, a constant reminder of the world they had to navigate. But tonight, there was a rare sense of peace in the air, as if the very earth itself had paused for a breath. The leader, his face smeared with dirt and sweat, looked around at the gathered tribe. Their faces were tired, their eyes haunted by the day's battles, but they were alive. They had weathered the storm of insects, the attacks of predators, and the violence of rival tribes. They had come through it together. The eldest member of the tribe, an ancient Homo habilis, stood slowly leaning on a gnarled walking stick. His eyes, though clouded with age, still held a spark of wisdom. With a gruff voice, he spoke without words, just a simple gesture to the fire, the gathering, and the shared bond that had brought them all this far. A child, still wide-eyed from the day's events, crawled into the lap of her mother. The woman smiled softly, brushing the dirt from her child's face, her movements tender despite the exhaustion that weighed on her bones. In that quiet moment, it was clear the bond between them was unshakable. No swarm of insects, no predator, no rival could ever break what they had built. And so the tribe settled into a brief but well-earned rest. The night was dark, but the fire's glow held a promise. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but as long as they stood together, they would survive. Through the endless swarms, through the dangers of the wild, they had learned the most essential truth of all survival was not just about the tools they carried, but about the strength they found in each other.